Hello, hello. This is Budgets with Grace, where I give you a glimpse of my life using the lens of my budget. My name's Grace. A little about me. I am 27, nearly 28 years old. I live in the Pacific Northwest with my boyfriend and 2 cats. And I am a freelance graphic designer. I own my own business, and I'm working on having multiple streams of income. Other than that, I love to budget. If you haven't heard of the software YNAB, it's the software that I use to budget, and most of my videos center around YNAB. If you want to give it a try, there's a link below in my description. It's some of the best budgeting software out there. We are going to look at my YNAB account in a minute, so I will also say that if you see some features you don't recognize, they're probably part of Toolkit for YNAB, which is a free Google Chrome and Firefox extension. There's also a link for it in my description below. Today, I'm going to be going over my debt story, how I got into debt, how I got out of debt and back into debt again, and where everything stands today. First of all, I took out student loans. I took out student loans the second that I graduated from high school in 2011. I began university that fall, and I went to a state university for 3 years. I took out student loans all 3 of those years, a varying amount. Also varied between subsidized and unsubsidized, which basically is if interest will accumulate while you're in school or if interest will only begin to accumulate after you've graduated. My mom took out a Parent Plus loan, which she even said if she had been handling her finances better, she would not do it. Basically, she wouldn't do the same thing today, which is hard to hear. My family, my grandfather generously helped me get funds to fund my second year of college, and I wouldn't have been able to continue without his help, and I'm so grateful, but it is a loan. I have to pay it back. Finally, I did get a grant my third year, finally, because I was reporting my father's income rather than my mother's income because of our living situation, and that's the crazy thing about, FOSFA, I had someone call me and they were like, "Who did you spend Christmas with?" And I was like, "Myself. I live at college. My family lives far away." They're like, "Yeah, but if you had to say who you spent more time with this year," and I said my dad, thankfully that was the truth. If I had said my mom, it would have been a completely different story and I probably wouldn't have qualified for grants. Anyway, small rant about grants over. And I graduated in 2014. I was able to graduate in 3 years thanks to some credit I got in high school in the form of AP classes as well as a running start class. Those gave me some credits to start out university with, and then I just had full-time 18 credit loads, which is the maximum at my university, and also took summer classes and basically just worked my ass off. But my total ending loan balance to the federal government was $17,500 when I graduated. Not to mention that small $10,000 Family Dollar loan. Just small, tiny. I also had to finance a new laptop when I graduated. I had been using on-campus resources to get my work done, and I needed a reliable laptop to do my graphic design work in order to start my career. So I don't remember exactly how much that was. Maybe, I don't know how much a new MacBook is. I'd have to look it up. Over $1,000. But it was 0% financing, and I know I was able to pay that off within that period of time. So that is 21 or 20-year-old Grace in student debt. Just graduated. I just moved to the city of San Francisco to start my big girl job and was very excited about it. So I began looking into opportunities to travel. I love to travel, and one opportunity that seemed really great was opening a credit card to get the free miles, and it really did pay off for me. I was able to keep a $0 balance for a long time on those credit cards and get some really great deals on flights. So I did that with one credit card, and then I was planning to do it with another one. And then my life took a turn, an unpredictable turn that I won't get into too much, but it was a health crisis, and I had to leave San Francisco. I had to stop traveling, and I had to move in with my parents. And it took a few months of living with my parents and then a few months of getting back on my feet to pay off the credit cards. I think I had accumulated maybe a little bit over $5,000, maybe 5 or 6 grand on the credit card. And then I stayed credit card free for as long as I had my previous full-time job. It was when I decided to leave that job, like many other freelance business owners, I was not fully prepared financially, and maybe you can never be fully prepared financially to open your own business until you do it once. So I fell back on the credit cards, and I'm thankful that I had credit cards to fall back on. And it only took me about 6 months to pay off the full balance on those after I started hitting unemployment and getting more jobs. And yeah, basically just having that consistent income was key. I also want to mention a small family car loan that I was helped with during that health crisis. My dad and my stepmom helped me purchase a car. The total was only $3,000, but it doesn't matter how much the car was. It was really what I needed, and I didn't need an expensive fancy car, but I also didn't have $3,000 to buy just a car off of Craigslist. By the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, I had fully paid them back. I admit that they did gift me the last few $100s for kind of a Christmas birthday at the end of 2017. But I mostly paid it back. Now I'd like to talk about my mortgage, the condo that I live in right now. I purchased in 2018. It was such a quick home buying process. Like, here are people looking at houses for months and dealing with banks and trying to find great interest rates. I think it took me 2 months. It took me 1 month of looking, or maybe 2 months of looking, and then 1 month of closing, and I feel like that's just in my personality to move really fast. If I decide that I want to do something, I go and do it. And because I've been financially wise, even though it wasn't my goal for like a long time, I had set myself up, like built the building blocks so that it would be just a quick jump for me to do it. Like, I had a huge savings, like probably shouldn't have used all my emergency fund, but I totally did. Plus, I'm getting ahead of myself. The total price that I purchased my condo for was $225,500. That comes out to a monthly payment of about $1,255. This has already fluctuated a little bit due to property taxes, and the way Washington State works is if you have a mortgage, you also have an escrow account, and when you pay your mortgage, some of that money goes into your escrow account to basically hold until taxes are due. And then they pay my property taxes for me. Like, I get a notice in the mail so I know how much it is, but I don't have to pay it. So this will probably continue to go up over the years. It only goes up maybe $5 or $10 every year, but that's something to keep in mind too when you're looking to buy houses, is even if you have a fixed rate mortgage, like, taxes are still always going to rise. This is the part that I was getting ahead of myself with. My grandpa helped me again when he heard that I was looking to buy a house and that I was going to need to stop looking to purchase and save so that I could afford a down payment. He offered to help me. So I know that all of this help from my family is a huge privilege, and I am so grateful to them. And I feel like that's all you can really do if you get a privilege. Like, just acknowledge it, be grateful for it, and do the best that you can with it. Now I want to talk about the here and now. $8,100 left in my federal loans. I've paid, I want to say, almost $10,000 to my student loans, and I also want to say right now that I have zero regrets about my student loans. You hear a lot of Ramsey followers or a lot of people who went to college and don't work in their industry that it was a terrible idea to take out student loans. And that's not how it was for me. And I really resent people saying that student loans are never a good idea, because I wouldn't be in the position I am. I wouldn't be the person that I am if I didn't have that experience. And yes, it is an experience. Like, yes, it costs money to live in dorms, but it is also, like, fundamentally shaping who you are going to be as an adult. So I would do it again. If you don't work in your industry, maybe it wasn't worth it, and maybe you could have benefited more from taking a year off to consider what you wanted to study and consider the industry that you would ultimately be happy with. But I'm also just incredibly lucky because I kind of landed into the right program that worked out for me. So I just resent it when people generalize and say that all student loans are worth it. So don't think that. Not everyone regrets their student loans. I owe a remaining $20,000 to my grandpa for helping me out with my tuition as well as the condo down payment. Unlike my student loans, my loan to my grandpa, I plan to pay off from the equity that I'm building in my mortgage right now. So hopefully in a couple of years, I'll be prepared to refinance and take out the equity and pay him back, or possibly sell and take out the equity to pay him back, as well as try to get money for our next down payment. That's a lot of ifs. We'll see. I have seen a lot of people use this chart before. It's called debt-free charts, and I love the idea of doing a visual tracker, but I am not a paper person, and I just lose things. My cat will eat it. Yes, my cats eat my homework, and I just find that digital is where it's at for me. So I took this PDF, I opened up in Adobe Illustrator and worked my design magic to basically put in those colored bars. And this is where I'm at right now. The total for this debt chart is just for my student loans. It does not involve my money from my grandpa, like I was saying. And I am about 10% of the way saved. I am focusing on breaking out my loans into the 3 loans that there are, and yeah, that's like an awesome start to just have that money sitting there. I also heard today that they extended the no payment into 2021. Now there's going to be no minimum payments until February. So I'm really hoping that I can just pay off one of those student loans, and then my student loan payment is going to be like cut in half basically. Now I'm going to show you 2 different pictures of my net worth and my total debts. The first one I'm going to show you is in WealthFront, which is, I haven't talked about it much. I have a high interest savings account in WealthFront as well as an investing account in WealthFront. I feel like this is part of a wave of very sexy banking apps, and that's why I like it, honestly. It's beautiful, and it gives me a nice visual, and they have some cool features. So there's a link to try WealthFront in my description. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I love this visual of it. Basically, I can enter all of my accounts down below, similarly to the way you would link them up in YNAB. And then it takes all of this. This is like my full debt picture. This is my mortgage and the loan to my grandpa I kept talking about, all my student loans, and but it also takes into account the assets. So the Redfin evaluation of my property and the investing accounts I have going on. So it takes all of that and tells you your net worth. And the reason I do this in 2 different programs, one in WealthFront and one in YNAB, is when I look over at YNAB, I want to feel like I can reach my goals. Adding a $20,000 just tracking account that I don't plan to pay off through my budget, I plan to use a different financial strategy to pay it off. It's just going to discourage me. So WealthFront is giving me the full picture of all of my assets, my entire net worth, including this property and my family loans. The reason I don't include all of that in YNAB as well is I'd have to track my mortgage, I'd have to track the house as an asset, I'd have to track the parent loan, and I'm not trying to attack any of those things through my budget right now. Maybe if I decided I wanted to start budgeting to pay back my grandpa, I would include that. At this point, it's just discouraging to see a really large negative amount that's just weighing down my net worth. I think that's all that I have to share with you today on my debt story. With no regrets in student debt, I no regrets have a mortgage. I no regrets have no car payment because I drive a $3,000 car. $3,000 a couple years ago. It's probably $2,000 now. And also no regrets on the credit cards. Credit cards get a really bad rep because they have really high interest rates and a lot of people don't use them responsibly, but sometimes like it's okay to need to use credit cards and it's okay to like get out of credit card debt and you shouldn't feel like ashamed of it. But man, it does feel good to be credit card debt free. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I upload videos every Tuesday and Friday, so if you want to hang out, you should like, comment, subscribe, all the things, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!